Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Scott Churchson, and this is the Sports Den. And welcome to Spanglish Sports World Network on Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. Kindly remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download, kindly rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free, so you can't beat the price. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there. JD Walker, you guys remember. Ryan O'Regan, you may remember from Tales from the Film Set. And back again, Mr. Miguel Toy Quest 101 Figueroa. We are here today to be talking a little bit of UFC, a little MMA. As always, you can find us on Instagram and also on Instagram and Facebook at Spanglish Sports World Sports Den, and also on Twitter at SSW Sports Den. Miguel, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. I'm glad to be back. I love the show, so I'm just ready to go.
Thank you, man. Well, yeah, like I said, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about in the world of MMA, in the world of UFC. Conor McGregor is going at it with Nick Diaz. There's a little bit of a tweet war going on right now, so that's going to be kind of interesting to talk about as well. We also got a little bit got some stuff in the WWE world we're going to go into. We got a big old plate today. We're also, as well, we're going to have the obscure sport as well. Talk about that, rate and review it. It's less violent than some of the other ones we've had of late. But anyway, gentlemen, how's everybody doing? What's going on? Ryan, how you doing, man? Welcome back, sort of.
Yeah, well, sort of. First time on the show. And,
yeah,
I like the amount of energy that you have now, earlier part of the day, than you do later in the day when you're still trying to wrangle us all together. I guess sports really gets you that hyped up. So
no, it's more like I have more energy.
This much of an energized Scott. I like it. I want some more of it.
You know what it is? It's by 8 o'clock at night, the coffee's worn off. I can't have another one. I'm going to be up all night. So this is me a little more energized, a little more hyped, because by that point, I'm fighting off the need to fall asleep. So, because, you reach a certain age and 9 o'clock is bedtime for you.
But that's why you bring me on and, to be the jerk that goes ahead and makes jokes and makes everyone laugh and wakes everyone up. So
that's exactly it. So thank you for your service.
I know my role, yes.
Yes. So, okay. So let's get right into this right now. Like I said, it got a little bit messy the other day. Conor McGregor referring to Nate Diaz's boxing ability as quote unquote piss compared to Nick. Nate's response in this particular case was, and it was a great response, "You can't fight at all. Remember your leg?" So, yeah, it got a little wild in the last couple of days on Twitter, which obviously makes for great conversation and makes conversations good for this kind of a show. Hey, Steph, how we doing?
There's no such thing as bad publicity,
for the most part. So, Miguel, talk to me a little bit. Give me your thoughts. Give me some ideas. Is he right? Is the first question.
Listen, so let's talk about the fight that happened this weekend. I thought it was a wonderful fight up until the end. Nick Diaz fighting Lawler. And it was such a great fight. I thought it was a lot of back and forth action between the two. I actually had Diaz winning up until when, he stopped the fight. But his boxing was crisp for being somebody who's been out for so long. He looked incredible to me fighting against Lawler. And even Lawler doesn't really put up that pace like that. He usually waits the last couple rounds in his last couple fights. But I enjoyed the fight for as long as it lasted. And as far as Conor, he's just being Conor. He's hyping up that Conor hype train and trying to get that third match going. I love it. I love it all, whether it's blowing smoke or just being serious or whatever it is that they're doing. I love it all. So as far as which one's the better brother, it's kind of hard to say. I think he's right. I think the one brother has the better boxing, but the other one has the better overall skills. He's got submissions. He's got the stand-up. And, he gave it to Conor when nobody else did. So, if you ask me, I want to see that third match, or I want to see Conor versus the other brother. So it doesn't matter which brother he goes with. I love the Diaz brothers as well. So,
Ryan, you got anything?
Look, as an Irishman, I want to. I do. I really do. But it kind of goes to like an old trope that you probably see in wrestling where, you have the ripped narcissist who thinks he's better than everyone else, who feels he's better than everyone else, and has the chops to back it up. One could refer him to like a ravishing Rick Rude. Everybody hated him, but he had the cojones and the skills to make his claim valid. Conor is diminishing returns at this point. Like, I don't see him. Like, it's not even that his bark is worse than his bite right now. He's barely barking. He's wheezing. His tongue is hanging out, and I am waiting for him to be put down like the old man that he is. I'm sorry. I cannot get behind anything Conor does anymore. I'm sorry.
Conor has become a sideshow. It is just publicity for publicity's sake. He will show up and do whatever it takes to keep getting paid. I mean, he's trying to. I mean, he's playing the game, so it's working for him as far as until the paychecks stop. But really, it's sad to see. It's sad to see.
The problem is, you see what he's done in the past as far as extremes to get notoriety. One can only go back to like that whole thing with the bus and hurling things at that and damaging other people that aren't even involved. It gets me to the point where I'm almost worried, how badly is Conor McGregor going to get himself into something to the point where someone else gets badly hurt. He's becoming more outrageous as he gets older. And it's like, what's the one phrase? A lion is only as vicious as its last day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, I love what you guys are saying, but I'm unfortunately going to have to disagree. I don't think Conor has changed the pace whatsoever since the beginning now to the end. He's the same guy who's been talking the same trash. Now his performance might not be the same, obviously, because he has the last couple losses, but that comes with what he said. It comes with the money. I mean, I think the biggest thing with Conor right now is that his heart is not into it as much as it used to be, because the paychecks are there. He's one of the highest paid people, period. He's been in the top forms of being paid as far as athletes and stuff. And I think that's where the difference is. As far as his trash talking, I mean, that's what got him up there. Listen, just like the WWE, UFC is a sport where if the hype is not there, they're not going to want to, promote you like that. It happened to Tyrone Woodley. It happened to a bunch of UFC fighters that are good, but just if the talk's not there, it's not there. And I think Conor paved the way for that. And you see it now more with other fighters, maybe not to that level, but you saw it with Cejudo. You're seeing it with a couple other guys, Masvidal. Masvidal started getting up there as well. Now, do all people like that trash talk? No, because there is a culture behind, mixed martial arts, but I don't think he skipped a beat since he stopped. I just think he isn't as good as he used to be before, because the money's there. And even the level of trash talking, I don't think is that good. I don't think it's as good as it was before. And you could see that in the last fight. It's just kind of was like, it was too promoted versus the other ones was like, I almost felt like he was being for real about it.
Go ahead.
He also used to be able to win fights. That's the biggest difference. Is the fact that he's not winning anymore.
I agree, but who did he lose to though? He lost to Khabib, which we kind of saw that coming, and he lost 1-1 against Diaz, right? I mean, you can't take a guy's credit for what he's done in the sport for maybe 2 or 3 losses that he's had. I mean, we've seen people have losses. A good one is Dustin Poirier, who's had losses and come right back from it, and now is champ. So I don't think we're gonna see the old Conor, if that's what we're talking about, ever again, because he does have the money, and I don't think he's in the same mindset. But I don't take anything from him, and I think he's still all that trash talking guy that he has. And once you get up there, not only in age but in fights and in where he's at, you're going to see that level of competition and his level kind of diminish, because he's got people matching him now. You know what I mean? Khabib was a perfect example. Diaz is a perfect example. But yeah, not to defend him. I mean, I do love him, but I kind of agree and disagree.
Do you think in this case, because he's been doing commercials, as simple as it is, doing commercials for Irish 12 whiskey and all that it's in some ways making him civilized? I always remember a line from Rocky 3. The worst thing that happened to you happened to any fighter. You became civilized.
I mean, I just think it's all about the money. He sold the proper 12. He's kind of all over the place. He's got more money than he could handle, especially after that Mayweather fight. He's a smart guy. If I was in his position, I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be talking trash to Mayweather again. Listen, you give me a third of what he made, I'll gladly step in the ring with Mayweather and get knocked out. I don't care. But he's just going to keep talking that smack and get that money. I still think he could back it up, and I think he'll still be back in there. I just don't think it's going to be the same.
He's playing the game. He's playing the game.
Logan Paul, Jake Paul's too young, too fiery. He would take him down, Conor, but I think Logan Paul would be a more balanced fight for him. Well, and I hate that I have to say it that way. But.
Yeah. Listen, last time you were on, we did talk. It was around the time of the Logan Paul Mayweather fight, and fight not so much as like special event that was just blowing up around the world. Tyron Woodley made some news, of course, with the Paul brothers, getting the name. I believe, I love Jake Paul tattooed on his middle finger, supposedly. Now, there's not really totally 100% sure, but because he lost the fight and he agreed to, if they agreed to a rematch, he would get it tattooed, somewhere on his body. Getting it on the middle finger also in some ways sends a message if it is legit, but I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. If
please.
Anybody offered you the kind of money that they offered you there, would you put that on your finger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only question I got is basically the middle finger. You could have it on any one of the fingers there.
Well, I think that's just a jab at.
Yeah.
When people want to see it. Oh, he's going to show it to them.
No, we talked about this last time. When they had the Mayweather made like $100 million in that fight. Paul made about $20 million, and it really wasn't a fight so much as an exhibition, which concerns me a little bit in some of these regards because they make so much bank, but there's never anything definitive that comes out of it. You saw it with the Tyson fight last year. It was nice. It was fun. It was good seeing him back in the ring, but they're kind of carrying each other and being like, all right, well, I got my money, adios. And it makes it less definitive.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with that, but you got to remember those were two different fights. So when Tyson fought Roy Jones, we knew it was going to be a exhibition match. We knew there wasn't going to be a winner coming out of it. If it went the distance, it was going to be a tie. So what that tells me as a fan or a person who realizes that this is just going to be an exhibition match is that they're going to carry each other. I could promise you right now, if Tyson wanted to knock out Roy Jones, it would have happened probably around, I don't know, the second round. And Roy Jones has been fighting he fought a couple years ago. Tyson hasn't, but I'm telling you right now, Tyson would have knocked him out. I mean, you saw that at the end of the fight, and Tyson even said it. Now with the Jake Paul fights and stuff, they're a little different. Not so much the older brother, but the younger brother, I think they're legitimate as far as the event happening. Now, I think there's politics in it? Absolutely. They're going back and forth, trying to call people out, and he's being very selective of who he's fighting. At the end, I went on another podcast before, and everybody was mad because I was going to say that Jake Paul was going to beat Tyron Woodley, and he did, and I told my reasons why, and that's exactly what happened. And if it happens again, it might be a little different, but I just think those are two different scenarios. Even with the Vitor Belfort fight and Holyfield, it was hard to watch because I love Holyfield, but Vitor's not in there. He's in there to collect money, but he's in there to knock people out. He doesn't care who's in front of him. But it's gonna lead up to something better, hopefully. But something I like to call those events. Has anybody ever seen a Celebrity Deathmatch on MTV back
in
the day? This is it in real life, guys. This is it in real life. It is. I have a love-hate for it. It's a circus, but for me, it's entertaining, and it's one of those things where, man, who would have thought you would see Vitor versus Holyfield, even though that was trash. But I have a love-hate for it, but it is what it is.
It's an entertaining and lucrative circus for everybody involved. When Conor's leg heals up and he resumes training, do you think that he will eventually fight one of the Paul brothers and make the ultimate circus event, which it'll draw an insane pay-per-view and there will be millions of buys just to see the crazy sideshow that will be.
I mean,
it's going to get pirated to hell too. So
What's that?
It'll get pirated completely.
Yeah,
it will get pirated. What are you talking about? I didn't watch the fight via a live stream on someone's illegal Twitter account.
Exactly.
Isn't every big fight pirated though? That's you put it at a high enough price point, there will be piracy. The higher you put that price tag.
That's
Yeah,
so
but I
funny.
would dare to argue there's probably less piracy with a wrestling pay per view than there probably is with these exhibitions and everything, because you're basically
Probably.
taking a sport which a lot of people would always say back in the day had like the fix was in and stuff like that, and now you're pretty much showcasing it to a point where it doesn't necessarily have the same validity that it does anymore. It's like the minute you hear exhibition, you are automatically thinking, oh well, this is just going to be a sideshow. There's no real match. There's no real fight. There's no real bout. And now, when you actually see these big names getting all the notoriety, but you actually have trained professional performers that don't even get like a sniff of that, you're turning the thing on its head.
Yeah. So two things for me to touch on what you guys said. So one is the whole. I get that some people are calling it a circus and it's politics and it's staged, but if you look at boxing for the past couple of years, it's the same stuff. None of the good people have been fighting the good people, and it's the same politics. It's just we're used to the old thing that it's boxing. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just on a weirder, crazier level. So I don't see a difference in the politics that's going on in the boxing world with a difference that what's going on here in Thriller and all these Jake Paul matches, except it's some young YouTube guy who's playing the cards right. And doing what he's got to do. As far as the piracy is concerned, think about how many people are illegally streaming that, and they're still making that much money. Like, that's crazy to me. Now, the other thing I wanted to say is, a lot of people say, hey, as an MMA fighter, as a person who's been involved in mixed martial arts, are you embarrassed for Tyron Woodley? Are you embarrassed for Ben Askren? And the answer is no. You want to know why? Because they're getting a payday. You know what I am embarrassed about, though? The simple fact that when they ran their careers in the UFC, and they've ran great careers and had great runs for titles and championships and great fights, they never got paid anywhere near as much as they got paid for that one fight. And that to me is embarrassing. And I think that's what's kind of Jake Paul and Oscar De La Hoya is kind of nitpicking at Dana White with. But again, I have a love-hate for it. Some fights I'm just like, yeah. Some fights I'm like, what's happening? But yeah, it's just the crazy world we live in now.
But that's normal with a lot of the sports too. You go back 30 years, people were outraged that Bobby Bonilla got a 5-year, $25 million contract, with the Mets. People blew their stacks over that. And now they're like, that's all? That's a team-friendly deal by any stretch of the imagination.
Annuity from the book.
He does, yes, July 1st, Bobby Bonilla Day. But anyway, yeah, so I do want to talk to you about it since you did mention this a little bit. You have a new seafood, don't you? Okay, no response on that one. Groovy. Miguel, I believe you have a specific trainer of in the Brazilian world of jiu-jitsu, n'est-ce pas?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I used the phrase seafood because I tried to be a little more oriental with it.
I actually heard what you said. It's just my computer kind of froze and I got a little scared. But
maybe it's not you, it's me.
So yes and no. So the picture you guys saw was at a seminar where I got to see Renzo Gracie again. So you got to remember, Renzo's like the master, right? He's up on that jiu-jitsu Brazilian tree. And then from there, they kind of trickle down. You got Ricardo Almeida. You got Tom the Blast, who now I train under. You had Jonathan Webb, who I trained at before, who trained under McPherson, who trained under Almeida, who trained under, Master Gracie. So, throughout my whole jiu-jitsu career, mixed martial arts career, Renzo has been the most inspiring person, both on a personal level and in a mixed martial arts level, especially in jiu-jitsu. If you ever got to meet Master Renzo and you talk to him for one time, it's almost like that first conversation when you have with him. It's almost like you've met him and talked to him before, because he's so down to earth. He's so humble. And the way he talks is crazy, but it makes sense. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. There's a quote one day where I think he broke his back or something like that. And the doctor said, hey, if you continue doing jiu-jitsu, you're never going to be able to walk again. And he goes, well, why do I have to walk when I could roll for the rest of my life? And that has to do with jiu-jitsu. So although it's something crazy, it just blows my mind because he thinks so differently about things. And that's just the type of person he is. He's the most beautiful person that I've ever met in my life, but such a dangerous guy at the same time. I mean, there was a time where on Twitter, he literally recorded somebody who was trying to mug him in New York, and he recorded him on Twitter. He got his back, rear naked choked him, put him to sleep, typed, "Hey, I just put this guy to sleep. I'm going to wait till he wakes up again to put him to sleep." Took a video, took a snapshot, did it again, did it about 4 or 5 times, went absolutely viral. I mean, the guy is just awesome. He's when I'm near him, it's just every time, it's just always something different that I learn from him. And I don't see him as much as I would like, but I do see him throughout the years, and he never forgets you, man. He never forgets you, and he will take his shirt off his back and give it to any stranger who needs it. But right now, I'm currently with Tom the Blast, another guy that I've looked up to for a very long time. You know, he's in Ocean County, BJJ. If you guys want to Google him, another guy who's crazy, but it's a good crazy. I mean, he tells it how it is. He's a legend in the sport. You know, and I did get away from my other gym with Jonathan Webb, who I've been with forever. Still have love there. No hate relationship there. It's just something I wanted to do now that I had the time to go train with somebody like the Blast, especially towards the tail end of my career going into black belt. And you know, it's just been a blessing. And to see Renzo the other day and let him know that, hey, I'm training with the Blast, he was so happy. And that was at Vitor Shaolin's place, which is another great, amazing black belt who actually just he actually knocked out Kenny Florian in Kenny Florian's last jiu-jitsu match as he was a commentator not too long ago. Within like 15 seconds, he put him in a clock choke. But I love Renzo. I mean, you could just see it in his face, man. He's crazy, but I love him, man. And he's just a humble guy. And if you ever get to meet him, if you guys want to know more about him, look up the video called Renzo Legacy. It's a documentary about Renzo. It's old, but it's an amazing documentary about him. And just look up anything on YouTube about him, man. He's just an amazing person. Same thing with Tom the Blast. You know, the guy's incredible. So yeah, I'm glad you guys asked about that, because I love those two guys. And, you know, I'm so happy to be, you know, or have them a part of my journey. So
then in this case here, being a brown belt, you know, you're one below black. You're also considered to be one of the more dangerous ones there too, technically speaking.
Yeah, I would like to think so. But man, you know, these guys that, especially at Tom the Blast is cool. I mean, he's got a couple guys in there that are not only young, 17, 18 years old, purple belts, and they're, you know, we got a kid named Cameron there. He just fought in a tournament in Atlantic City, a black belt who they call him the Giant Slayer, number 6 ranked black belt in the weight class in the world, and he gave him a run for his money. And he gives me such a hard time rolling, and it just speaks to the amount of instruction that you have from Tom the Blast or people like Renzo. But yeah, I'm usually one of the mat enforcers. You know, I'm the guy who humbles the guy who comes in there thinking that he could just, you know, run the place. But I am one of the senior guys, so sometimes, most of the time, people respect it, but most of the time, I'm the one they want to kind of challenge to test themselves, and I welcome that challenge because, you know, we have young guys who are growing up in the sport and not necessarily have people like me or other people that are higher belts to, you know, train and learn off of. I never had that growing up, you know, in the sport. You know, we only had the same colored belts. We never cross-trained like we do now. And just the sport's evolved so much, but just amazing people. And yeah, I'm in the tail end of my career. I'm not, I could wait another 13 years to get my black belt. I really don't care. I just love the journey and I love the sport.
Nice. I hated training in jiu-jitsu when I did, you know, because I was in so much pain after every single one, you know. I think one of the hardest parts about it is getting past the white belt level when you're training with brown belts. Like I said, the black belts are merciful. The browns are a lot of times a little bit more forward with their desire to show their skills. And on a poor little schmucky little white belt like I was, it was really rough. Krav Maga was a lot easier for me. You know, it was a lot more natural for me. But yeah, my shoulder still has repeated pain. You know, I'm pretty sure the torn rotator cuff I've gotten a few years ago came about from an existing injury that happened during Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So,
wait, yeah. Hold on. You trained in this?
What's that? Years ago, I was. I was years ago. Yeah.
That blows my mind.
You never asked.
You seem so gentle. You seem like a calm, even-handed kind of guy. I can't.
I've had some.
Maybe
We're gonna go on.
I don't know.
Is that where you found the double jointed skill?
No. All of that stuff. The America's Got Talent stuff. That's just me being. I forget what the term is on this. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or whatever it is.
Oh, what the heck? What is that? Oh my God.
Yeah. I did this on this was my America's Got Talent thing like 6 years ago. Whoopie do. But no, I stumbled into Zen and Taoism back around 94, and that helped clean my head up in a lot of different ways. And I just like I said, you study from an Eastern mentality a little bit. So when you talked about the fact that you used to train with no belt, the first thought I had was from Karate Kid 1. What kind of belt are you? What kind of belt do you have? JCPenney $3.99. That always felt, like I said, a little more natural for me. Although I hated kata, which is part of the reason why Goju and Shotokan never worked for me that well. So yeah, Steph, I am that guy.
It's always the nicest guys that are the most dangerous, though, because like at that gym, that Cameron kid that I told you about, nicest dude in the world. You would never think. He weighs like 90 pounds wet, and he will go to town on anybody. He's crazy good.
And that's, I remember seeing that. I remember there was a girl who was like 5'1", and she's flipping a guy at 6'5", like basically like he's nothing.
Yeah, we have a girl, Jaden. She is an animal. I mean, I can't even tell you. They're both going to Worlds in a week, so good luck to them. Hopefully they see this. I kind of lived through them, watching them, because I remember I was that age. But they're just on another level, and I love them both to death. And just you got to see their matches, man. You're like, what the heck? It's amazing. So
yeah, and you just, like I said, it's one of those things you take it for granted. You look at it, and that judgment, that prejudgment, is what hurts you more than I think anything else. Because everybody down the street, you have no idea what they're capable of, what they've seen, what they've dealt with on a personal, physical level. It doesn't matter. But we're so quick to prejudge that you put yourself behind the 8 ball immediately because your opinions ruin you. And now we're suddenly getting very metaphysical here. So yes, Ryan, I did train in it. Yes. So fun fact, we can talk about this.
I'll be nicer when debating you later on. I'll be fine.
I also basically, you'll appreciate this. I did also train the Dan Hibiki style. Ryan, he doesn't get that. Okay. From Street Fighter. Dan from Street Fighter. Yeah.
About to say Street Fighter.
I had to throw that in there.
I asked my dad about my contribution to this. I asked my dad for karate lessons so I could fight off all the bullying that I dealt with, and he gave me. He said no and said a thing about turn the other cheek and blah blah blah. Now I know he just didn't have the money for the lessons.
But if you turn the other cheek, they just hit the other cheek. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So my father. It's funny. My father always offered it to me. But I was not like mentally ready for it, and I was kind of embarrassed to be in a classroom of people that way. So it took years eventually, get my head out of it. But anyway, we're not here to actually talk about all of my, various issues there. So this is the Sports Den, also doubling as the psychiatrist couch. Scott Churchson, Miguel, Ryan, JD. As always, like I said, you can find us on Facebook and also on Instagram at Spanglish Sports World Sports Den, and also on Twitter at SSW Sports Den. I do want to talk a little bit about Miguel's YouTube channel, Toy Quest 101. We're going to get to that. But it is now 4:30. It is time to talk a little bit more about our obscure sport of the day. Now, in this particular case, if Eduardo, if you can pull up that video that I put on there, if that doesn't work, I'll give you a link as well. We can try it that way if we got to. But this one is unlike a lot of the other ones because it doesn't involve physical pain. If you've seen the show before, if you know how the show works, we usually have things that involve tasers. We have things that involve flaming soccer balls or coconuts in certain cases. What we had last week, I think, was basically carrying a gigantic flaming tar barrel through the streets of a town in England. So if we can pull up that other video, what we're working on this time around is a sport called Hornusen. Hornusen is a sport that has been around for somewhere in the vicinity of almost 500 years. There is no exact idea of when this sport originated. Let's see if we can play that right there. No, I can't. All right, Eduardo, if we can play that video that I put at the bottom left, that'd be great. I appreciate that. There we go. Let's see if this works. Hornacen has been around somewhere around 1625 at the very, very latest in this particular case. The exact origins of this are unknown, but the sport itself, the first writing about it, the first mention of it ever, came about from two people that were actually fined 20 francs for playing it during the Sabbath. That is the first history that we have of this particular sport. If that's not flying, we'll try it this way with the link that I've sent over. I don't know why we're getting a black screen, so you're just going to hear me kibitz for a little while longer. It is actually native to Switzerland in this particular case. It is one of the most popular sports over there, but has no real knowledge outside of that world. It centers around two teams, 18 players each, on a strip of land that is somewhere between 8 meters wide or 14 meters wide and 300 plus meters long. So that's about 1,000 feet there, minimum. What it actually is, there we go. See if we can pull this up and see if we play this. This is, first of all, you got that wicked looking golf club thing. You know, that is the thing you have to actually hit the harness with, which we're going to show you what that is. And meanwhile, on the other side, you got 18 guys over there whose job it is to literally hit the ball before it hits the ground by having it bounce off of their little tiny thing that they call a shingle. The goal is to get it to land on the ground without being touched by a shingle by swinging that thing, which hits the ball upwards of 300 kilometers an hour and can hit it 1,500 feet or more. This particular sport, you're not allowed to actually throw it up in the air and hit it that way. This particular sport, that's the spindle right there. Like I said, you spit there, you get set it up, and it is one of the wickedest looking golf clubs I've ever seen. What you do is you get one goal for every time it lands on the ground, and you get 1 point for every meter it travels 100 meters or further. So once it is 180 meters, you get 80 points. What's interesting about it also is at the end of the match, winner or loser, they eat together at the end of the day. They share a story, they have fun, they laugh, they joke. It's a very, very heavy camaraderie Swiss-based sport. Can we play it one more time? Do you mind if it's possible? Thanks. In this case here, like I said, it can go upwards of 300 kilometers an hour. Each player has 2 hits per inning, 18 players, 2 innings each. The goal scoring is set up by goals first, and then if there's a tie in the goals, you go over to which team hit it the furthest. Like I said, this thing can go 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet or more, just smack the snot out of this. I want to talk about this sport a little bit because it's not something as well. As I say, Rob Staff, there's pain involved in the sport if you get hit with that ball. Yes, probably if you get hit, right at ground zero on that. But want to get your thoughts on it, want to get your opinions on it, maybe rate it a little bit. Usually obscurity, playability, watchability, and badassery. I'll start it off, I guess, in this particular case, since, well, you know what? Because I never actually start off. I never, ever, ever, ever start the show off with this. So I figure obscurity, I'm giving this thing an A. This is something I never knew existed. It's only relegated to a tiny little area of Switzerland, but they love it and they acknowledge outright. It's like, yeah, this is not one of the most popular sports out there. As far as playability goes, I think I would give this a B because on one hand, I'd love to be able to swing that thing. I think it'd be a lot of fun to swing that weird looking golf club, but my eyesight is trash. So I would have to play out on the field with no ability whatsoever to be able to see this thing, and my team would probably hate me. Watchability, I'd probably give this a B-. I think it's something that'd be kind of fun to watch at least a game of to see what they do, but I think it would be burned out after a while. And as far as badassery goes, I'm not really say it's that badassery. I'll give it a D+. Because honestly, versus some of the other sports that we've had that, again, involved tasers, fire. This one doesn't have any of that. But it does have free eats, and I give you credit, basically, that even though you're playing against an opponent there, you eat with them at the table afterwards, and I think that's kind of cool. So, John, you got any thoughts? And by the way, we're good. If you want to close the video out, it's okay. Thanks.
First off, I think it's ironic that we picked the least violent sport that we've done so far for the week that we talk about fighting. I would give this an A for oddity and obscurity, since, as you said, it is isolated to this one area of Switzerland. Looks like a cross between Top Golf, Quidditch, and cricket.
Okay.
So I would B- for playability. It would be fun, but at the same time, you need to have enough accuracy, even with that guiding trail thing, in order to be able to hit this thing very far. C for watchability. I was bored by the end of the clip, but the guys throwing the paddles around seems to be the funniest part of this.
Throwing in frustration.
Yeah. C+ for badassery, because this is one of the lesser violent sport, but still, you need some skill to play this. Yet at the same time, there isn't as much threat of injury or death as some of the other sports that we've covered on here.
Taser ball was a great one, which is exactly what it sounds like. Yeah. Yes. By the way, just to answer that, Steph. Yes, the meal is part of the sport. It is part of the traditional event that they eat together and dine. They dine together and laugh together and reflect on the match itself as friends. It's Switzerland. You shouldn't be surprised basically how the personality is even over there. So
I will say that this, when I think of Switzerland, I would never think of something like this in a place known mostly for sketchy bank accounts, yodeling, and chocolate.
I was gonna say skiing, and mountains and everything. Well, they do get warm weather on occasion too. So, but yeah. So at this point, I guess you know what? We'll go over to Miguel. I'm going to throw it at you. Like I said, oddity first, playability next.
So I put these in my phone because last time I jacked this up, but
okay.
I have to.
I sent you the message before with that.
Yeah. This is my favorite part of the show, I swear, because last time the video you showed was amazing. But I'll give it an A for obscurity, a D for badassery, because I don't really think it's anything too crazy. C for playability, but I'm gonna give it an A for the person who's swinging that fly fishing rod or whatever the heck that is, because if it was me, I would want to do that, and that's it. It's like top golf.
It's actually called a balk, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a balk.
Right, well, that seems kind of cool. Definitely like that. Although I'm the type of person, if I can learn how to what the whole trick is to playing, I would probably go all out and try to be competitive about it.
Oh yeah,
it's a weird sport. And watching it, C, but it's one of those things where if you're there, it's probably gonna be better. So it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, I know. I found it this morning. I'm like, all right, well, it's like I said, it's different from some of the other ones. I just love that golf club thing. It's one of the weirdest ones out there. The fact that it actually wraps around your own neck. Supposedly you don't get choked by it, but still I love that part of it. All right, Ryan, how about you, sir?
All right. So since this is my first time trying to rate all this, I'm just going to keep it real easy. And I'm just going to say B- across the board. As far as it being obscure, I mean, it obviously has some elements of other sports in there. And so it's pretty much just one of those sports that kind of like an amalgamation. It's like, let's combine whatever we can for the two. As far as playability, I mean, I can imagine how many people have probably hurt themselves trying to swing around that club and learning how to use it. Let alone just the look of it. I feel like it's legitimately a high-priced golf club owner who's like attacking some protesters. Just seeing him trying to like whack it and hopefully hit somebody who's got a sign. I love the look of it. It's just so simplistic, and yet I can only imagine there may be like a VHS out there somewhere of all the bloopers and all the fumbles and all the hits that have happened over the years playing this sport. Yes, probably like Miguel said, probably better to watch it live than like we did on the video. But just overall, it seems simplistic. Seems like something you could be able to pick up in like a month's time, and obviously the food at the end. I mean, you can't say that there's too many sports that have that initial camaraderie. Not something that has to be forced. You literally have to it's part of it. You either play like that or you don't. So you have to enjoy yourself. I can't see any sourpusses playing a sport like this. And so that raises it just above like normal for me, because it seems like something even I could play. And I haven't played sports in like quite some time, unfortunately. Anybody that looks at me outside of the camera, you'll be able to tell. But it looks like something that it looks like anybody who wants to participate in it, they can. It doesn't take like too much out of you. So yeah, if I ever went to Switzerland, put me on the field. I'll raise a sign. I'll take it.
And like I said, it's just, to me, I would love to try it just once. Part of my focus, when I get rich, to be able to just travel and be like, you know what, I'm going to make a day of this. I'm just going to go out there and play the sport. Again, I would probably kill myself with it. I'd probably choke myself with the thing. There is probably a video somewhere of just like epic fails. I'll try and find that on YouTube. I think that'd be kind of funny. But anyway, so like I said, that wraps that up. Thank you for the input on this, by the way. I always wonder sometimes when I have guests on how they feel about the obscure sport aspect of it, and I never really know necessarily how they're going to take it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. We got a little over 10 minutes left. Like I said, find us always on Twitter on SSW Sports Den, and also on Facebook and Instagram at Spanglish Sports World Sports Den. I want to open this up a little bit. Miguel, the reason that obviously I got to know you came from the YouTube channel Toy Quest 101. You're now actually rocking at 128,000 subscribers at this point, so massive props to that. So I want to talk a little bit about that, give you some time. Thank you. I'm just going to ask you to do that. I want to, open it up a little bit, have you talk about that a little bit, and really how it's going. Talk to me.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. Obviously, it really means something to me, especially when I have other people, saying such kind words. But Toy Quest 101 is a show that was inspired from my daughter. She has autism. So it is a pop culture review channel. We review toys, statues, anything that has to do with pop culture. We have celebrity guests on the show, and inspires kids with autism and special needs through our story. So Toy Quest came about because, my daughter was watching her favorite YouTube show, and I said, hey, playing around, you should do your own YouTube show. She turned off the tablet. She got sad. And when I asked her what was wrong or why, she said she couldn't do it because she had autism. So as a father, it really broke my heart because that was the last thing I thought she was going to say. So as I was setting up the basement during that time, as you can see behind me, I put the table up, I put a camera up, and we did our first show. And it's just that show alone just brought so much out of her that we were working with her, growing up with autism, how to speak properly, how to put the sentences together, not to be shy, pronouncing her words. It just brought out so much out of her that we decided to continue with the show. A little bit less than 4 years later, like you said, we have close to 130,000 subscribers. We're picking up again. We've been all around the world as far as making an impact with parents and children. We've had a ton of celebrities come onto the show. We have a lot of videos coming up, a lot of partnerships with big statue companies or toy companies that, help us with the show. And it's just been a blessing. And like I said before, and I'll say it time and time again, regardless of the numbers behind the show, regardless of, the news that we've been on, as long as we impact one person, that's really all that matters. And it's all about making that impact in somebody's life, because the reality is, here in the United States, we have a lot of support as far as, schools, doctors, therapists, teachers, things like that. But it really opened up my eyes when I had people contacting me from third world countries or from like New Zealand or somewhere far where they don't have that much technology or that much of a support system for that. And they look at us and we're like their shining light, which I would have never in a million years thought that we would be. And they just looking for some sort of guidance. So if I could just give a little bit of guidance to somebody, give them some hope, that goes a long way for both Ileana and myself. And, it's just been a blessing, and the support out there has been great. And, we just enjoy putting smiles on people's faces. And, it's a lot of work. I know a lot of people think that, they're just on YouTube and putting up videos. Yeah, you're right. But it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of, energy, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of, there's other things obviously going on in life. And, Ileana's getting older now. She's in high school. So we got the teen year, a little bit more attitude, even though she still loves doing the show. It's just a lot of different things going on. But, we're still holding strong. We're overcoming some obstacles that are happening with YouTube and other things, but we just want to continue impacting people, especially kids, and just doing what we do best and showing you guys cool new products that have to do with cool new things that are going on. Like this Friday, we're going to be opening up a Carnage statue in honor of the Venom Let There Be Carnage 2. So I'm so excited for that. Carnage is one of the baddest villains in the Spider-Man verse. So love to see Carnage come out in a statue form and just pop him in our display. So yeah. And
the funny thing is, Carnage kind of flies under the radar for the most part. Venom really kind of flew under the radar until that movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not counting Spider-Man 3 with Topher Grace. We don't count Venom on that one specifically.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
No, we don't. No. Yeah. Tobey Maguire's
dinky black suit. That's all it was.
Yeah. But I know you've had on there the voice of Wolverine. Cal Dodd has been on there. John Bailey, the Honest Trailer voice, which again I've said this a dozen times. I'm so jealous of that one, because I'd love to get him to record stuff. You've had fair number of people on there. Like I said, you're at 128. What's that?
I said Honest Trailers are fantastic.
Yeah. But he's recorded stuff for you, and just in various things, say this, and this, and he'll just do it. He'll knock it out. I'm like, yeah, kind of want that.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, man, and to have him on the show and test out all his voices like that in the game that we played with him was just really fun. And Cal Dodd, he's the voice of Wolverine. Growing up, anytime I read a comic book, I heard his voice, right? But we had a lot of great celebrities on, and we have some lined up in the near future, maybe after this year, because we've been so busy trying to get product out for the show. But it's been a blessing, man, and I'm just grateful for the ride and my daughter. And the biggest news is that prior to the pandemic, my daughter is a swimmer. It's a sport that we've really got her in. But the biggest news is that she came up to us and said, "Hey, I want to be in the Special Olympics and not only represent autism, but represent women with autism in the Special Olympics." And she wants to make it to the big championship Special Olympics whole, shish kebab, right? And it's funny because where we live, there isn't a Special Olympics team. So luckily, some of her coaches really cared about her, and we are now in the process of making our own team. It's going to be sponsored and funded by Toy Quest 101. You heard it here first. I haven't told anybody about it. It's called they're going to be called the Blue Krakens. And the idea is not only to get her in that spotlight and accomplish that dream on that level, but if other kids with autism want to join, I don't want them paying for their swimsuits that are expensive. I'm gonna try my best to fund that with all the networking that I have, and hopefully give them a home and a place to network and kids that are like them. So
well, I'll help you. So what like I said, let me know about that, because again, this is the first I've heard about it, and I guess everybody too. Anything Herb can do too, we'll figure that out as well. But yeah, no, absolutely. Let me know what I can do with that. All right. So we got a couple. No problem. Glad to. So we got a couple of minutes left. I want to just kind of go around a little bit, see if you guys have any final thoughts, any questions, ideas, compliments, or complaints. JD, I'm going to start with you on this one. Any complaints about the Jets?
We haven't talked.
Yeah, we haven't talked
football this week, but with too much. But there really isn't much to say. We're now at 18-49 since 2017 for both New York teams. John Mara, the owner of the Giants, the co-owner, was booed very loudly during the Eli Manning ceremony at the game last week, furthering to my point about how they are turning on the owners. And the good news is every rookie quarterback stunk last week, so it wasn't just Wilson. Some of the numbers, the Fields numbers for Justin Fields in Chicago, sacked 9 times, passed for only 68 yards, yet lost 67 yards on the sacks. So on all the sacks, so it was 1 net yard positive for the team. And then
Miguel, sorry. Miguel, I know you don't cover really follow football that much, but you're in Philly country where the team isn't as bad. So you got to
Yeah, but I heard they got their butts whooped by the Cowboys.
They did. Still a better team. But yeah, last week JD and I kind of really went off on both football teams, and I was aching to do that, And fortunately, I didn't watch the game the other day. It was actually at Ren Fair on Sunday, so I got to miss the Giants' latest loss in this case. But anywho,
the Eagles are a little better, but still, it is going to be a long season for everybody around here. It looks like.
Yeah, it's a sad time for us loyal Giants and Jets fans. Ryan, any final thoughts?
About losing the Cowboys, apparently. Can't say I blame them. Not a fun spot to be in.
Ryan, any final thoughts, sir?
Personally, as a lifelong Giants fan, I've learned not to get into these kinds of debates and talk about how bad we may be doing. But instead, let me go ahead with a more positive note. More so for Miguel, because I do believe one of his former trainees, Miss Daria Benedetto, if I'm saying the last name right, it looks like she's on the comeback trail to actually get back into the ring in WWE. They've got the storyline pretty much tailored for her and Naomi, who's married to one of the Usos, to possibly, I'm hoping as soon as Survivor Series this November, to be competing. So good for her. It's been a long time coming. I loved what they were doing with her prior to her backstage role. But I'm sure that probably pleases you as well to see one of your people getting back into action.
Yeah, I'm really proud of her. Actually, we just got to spend her birthday seeing her perform over here in Philadelphia right on her birthday. And I'm that could be a whole episode another day of how proud I am with her. And a little backstories about her that I could tell you guys. But I think that's where it's going. I don't want to give away too much stuff because I don't want people getting in trouble. But regardless of what happens, I mean, she's just amazing. I can't speak more highly of Daria or Sonya Deville. But yeah, man, I can't wait to see what's in store.
Yeah, no, I'm a simp when it comes to Jersey competitors. So anytime it would be her or maybe a Liv Morgan, even Diamond Dallas Page back in the day. If it's Jersey born and bred, I have to support it regardless. So more power to her.
There's our next episode. We could do a whole episode on Jersey wrestlers. I'm down.
You know what? Like I said, those of us in Jersey, people outside Jersey don't get it, but we're very loyal to ourselves because kind of the rest of the world sort of like this is us. So, we have to look out for ourselves a lot that way. All right. So we got to wrap this up at this point. I'm going to do a quick plug in this particular case because tonight at 8:00 for Tales from the Film Set, we're going to be breaking down Cobra Kai Season 4, the trailer on that, maybe a little Stranger Things, but especially discussing the IATSE strike, which is plausible within Hollywood. What's going on there, why it's going on, what I feel about it, working from inside the film industry, because boy, do I have a lot of stories on that one specifically. So I'm going to give some input on that as well. One more time, you can find us on Twitter at SSW Sports Den and also on Instagram and also on Facebook at Spangler Sports World Sports Den. For Mr. Miguel, Toy Quest 101 Figueroa, JD Walker, and also as well, Mr. Ryan O'Regan, who just popped out. I'm Scott Churchson. Thanks as always for tuning in. Have a great day. And together, let's make it a great day. You knew I had to. Be good.
Take care.
Bye. What happened?